Yo, what's cracking, mate? I'm currently working on the reverse engineering project for version 335A. In order to make the most beautiful out-of-bounds videos possible, I want to disable culling for everything seen on screen. Since this is a rather complex reversing task which requires deeper understanding of how the game works under the hood, I was searching for some help in the form of client builds with debug information. Unfortunately, there are only very few of those out in the wild, and one of those is version 053, the Family and Friends alpha, which was the first public released build. Of course, this is a far cry from version 335A, but hey, I'll take what I can get my fingers on. It should help me understand some things regardless. Since I think it might turn out to be useful for other people as well, I decided to record a short setup guide for that version with Ghidra. Let's get started. Our first requirement is the client itself. Go to the website wowdl.net and click on the client's menu entry. The one we are after has the build number 3368. And yes, the biggest download button is the correct one for once. I also did a scan on the downloaded and extracted folder with Windows Defender, and there was nothing shady inside. The next thing on our download list is Ghidra. Visit the website ghidra-sre.org and follow the link to GitHub. At the time of recording, the latest version was 10.2.3. Since Ghidra uses Java, you will have to install that as well. In order to unlock the full feature set, I would recommend you to install the latest JDK instead of JRE. With those initial downloads out of the way, it's finally time for the Ghidra setup. I also want to clear any potential confusion by pointing out that in this version, wow.exe is a launcher/updater and the actual game is called wowclient.exe. The debug information itself is stored in wowae.pdb. It's a bit weird in terms of naming, but okay. With the Ghidra main window open, we click on File and select New Project, where we choose to create a local, non-shared one. I have a dedicated Ghidra folder for all my reversing projects, and for the project name, I chose the same name as the client's folder. Now that the project has been created, simply select the directory in the active project section and click on File, where you choose Import File this time. Here you add wowclient.exe and simply accept the default settings shown to you when doing so. Once the import concludes, you are greeted with a summary, which you can have a brief look at if you want, but nothing too important here. Close the summary by clicking OK, and then open the code browser from the tool chest. In this window, you click on File and then proceed to open the wowclient.exe we just imported into the project. It's important to click No when Ghidra asks you if you want to analyze the file right after opening. Otherwise, the PDB import might not work properly. Right after that, click on File again and choose the Load PDB file entry. If everything worked out so far, the fields should be automatically populated like seen here. Otherwise, choose the correct PDB file manually. The most important step here is to change the parser from the universal one to MSD, otherwise the import will crash. In case your import doesn't succeed, you most likely have to install another dependency for MSD, like I had to. To make your life a little bit easier in the case, I've written down notes for that as well. In my case, I already had MSD 140 DLL on my system because of the Visual Studio installation. It just wasn't registered. This can be done manually by opening the command line as admin and running the command seen on screen. If you don't have Visual Studio on your system and you prefer a less bloated approach, you can check out this GitHub repository. Either download the Visual C++ redistributable linked in the README, which points to the official Microsoft website, and use the MSD 140 DLL from there, or you go the ultra minimalist route and use the DLL from this repository. I have downloaded it from this repo here as well, and both Windows Defender and VirusTotal haven't shown any findings at all. Once you have properly registered it, the PDB import should go through without any major issues. There might be a few warnings or conflicts while the import runs, but you can simply ignore those. Once the progress info bar in the bottom right corner is no longer indicating any activity, you can close the warnings window and start your journey into reverse engineering. As a quick example, I was looking at enables, which sometimes are also referred to as render flags. A look at the cross references shows us where in the code the value is read from or written to. If I'm not completely mistaken, this call here should enable or disable WMOs, depending if they're currently enabled or disabled. Finally, there is only one more important thing to do, saving our Ghidra repository so we don't have to do all these steps all over again. This concludes my Ghidra setup guide for WoW 053, and I sincerely hope it helps out people to wrap their head around stuff and gets more people interested in the reverse engineering in the first place. Currently, there are a lot of things on my mind which I want to do, like creating a self-hosted Git repository where I can freely share the Ghidra projects, showing off version 4.10, which also has debug information included, and creating a Ghidra repository for 335A, and of course 1,000 other things as well. Too much on my plate, as always. Let's see what the future holds. Stay tuned.